Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota has started to call New Hampshire Democrats in a step towards challenging President Biden. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video today. It is time that we talk about the 2024 Democrat presidential primary because it appears that President Joe Biden may have another primary challenger in the coming weeks, as Congressman Dean Phillips of Minnesota has begun to call New Hampshire Democrats in a step towards challenging Biden for the nomination. Yep, a congressman in the House of Representatives is seriously considering a primary challenge to President Biden. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Alright, everybody, and again, this is a developing story, and we don't know how for sure this is actually going to happen because, again, I still don't know if Dean Phillips will actually go the extra mile and challenge Biden, but it still is a fascinating story that we've kind of heard about for the past 2 to 3 months. And, yeah. So let's get into the article. Congressman Dean Phillips has begun making calls to Democratic operatives and officials in New Hampshire, the latest step he's taken towards launching a primary challenge against Joe Biden. Now, you may be asking yourselves, wait, why is he considering a run now? We are in the middle of October. We're almost in the final stretch before the primary. Well, this article will go deeper into it, but if you probably know, the Democrats have completely gutted the scheduled primary for next year. You know how Iowa's the first caucus and New Hampshire's the first primary, usually? Well, they have completely changed the schedule. And I believe South Carolina is the first primary, and it's a mess. They purposely changed the schedule to help President Biden because he is incredibly weak in Iowa and New Hampshire. And, well, apparently the New Hampshire Democrats, they're not backing down. They're saying, nope, we're hosting our primary this day. We're not going to be second. We're not going to be third. No, we are the first primary. And they refuse to back down. Unlike Iowa, which, well, they back down real quick. But either way, there's been some rumblings that if the Democrats, or I should say the New Hampshire Democrats, if they refuse to comply with the DNC's requirements, Biden may not even be on the ticket. But this article will explain it a bit better. The Minnesota Democrat called New Hampshire Democrat Party Chair Ray Buckley on Thursday and introduced himself. The lawmaker confirmed the call in a text message to Politico. I called Chairman Buckley yesterday to introduce myself as I contemplate entering the Democratic primary, he said. It was a very friendly conversation. So he is making calls to some state chairs, and it may seem late on paper, but like I said, this will explain why there is a possibility this could happen, and it could actually help Dean Phillips. But it's weird. It's technically a loophole, but again, it's complicated, but this article does explain it pretty good. Phillips said he has also reached out to potential staffers in the state. The Minnesota Democrat has regularly called for Biden to face a 2024 challenger, criticizing the president for, quote, not passing the torch to the next generation of Democratic leaders, which is a fair point. Biden has actual health issues, not like Trump where it's like, yeah, he's 77, but you could tell he's still there. He's not as energetic as he was 10 years ago, but he's still there mentally and physically. Biden, he had another fall yesterday, and he keeps rambling on about God knows what, and it just gets even more sad. And it does make you really wonder, can he even make it to the next election? Phillips withdrew from the House Democratic leadership earlier this month, amid concern that his flirtation with a primary bid was causing distraction. He has met with Democratic donors over the summer about a potential run. He's doing the things you would do if you're running, or if you're not declared and you're trying to check what the reception would be, said a New Hampshire Democrat operative. So he is doing everything a candidate usually does. He makes phone calls to potential staffers. He's talking to big donors. He's talking to state chairs. It seems like he is making that move towards a challenge to Biden, which should tell you everything about President Biden. He is historically weak as a nominee. He won the nomination last time because of South Carolina. If it was for Jim Clyburn giving him that endorsement and Obama making some calls, Biden would have lost the nomination to Bernie Sanders. There, I said it. He 100% would have lost it. It would have been close, I think, but I think Bernie would have, at the end of the day, won the nomination if it wasn't for what Clyburn and Obama did for Biden. You do not get crushed in Iowa, New Hampshire, and barely take second in Nevada and expect to do great. Historically, that's never been the case, but he got bailed out by the Democrat establishment. Joe Biden did. Buckley declined the comment on the call, but Phillips will need to decide quickly, as the deadline to file for New Hampshire's presidential primary is in 2 weeks. Phillips' moves in New Hampshire comes on the heels of the state losing its status as a first-in-nation primary after the Democratic National Committee revamped the presidential nominating calendar. Earlier this month, the DNC declared New Hampshire as non-compliant because of the state's plans to host its own primary ahead of South Carolina, which is now the first presidential nominating state during the 2024 cycle. And this is where things get a bit interesting, because when you start reading in between the lines, we could see something absolutely wacky happen in New Hampshire. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when you start reading what's the possibility here and why Dean Phillips' attempt to make this last-second push, kind of makes sense. New Hampshire Democrats plan to lead a write-in campaign for Biden, but Phillips' entry could complicate that effort, and that's the thing. Biden, I don't think, according to Politico and everybody else I've talked to, he's not going to be on the ballot in New Hampshire. Now, I know he has a very simple name, but listen, if he's not on the ticket, that does raise some questions about, will some people even vote if they have to write in Biden? Williamson, who ran for president in 2020, is also running. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was running as a Democrat and had gained some polling traction in New Hampshire, switched to run as independent this week. And you start realizing that, hey, there are some Democrats that probably will be on the ticket, like Williamson, like potentially Dean Phillips, and Biden may not. That's the risk of, messing with New Hampshire, because now he's not on the ticket. And New Hampshire, it sounds like, is still going to be the first primary, just they'll probably get sanctioned to living hell by the DNC. Jim Demers, a political consultant who is helping lead the write-in effort for Biden, called Phillips' run a ridiculous idea. Democrats in New Hampshire support Biden. Really? If they support Biden so much, why the hell did you move the calendar like that? Why? If he's so well loved, why? Because he's not. Of the early polling states, I think Biden's worst state was New Hampshire. I mean, historically, he got like 5% last year, or 2020. He is not a strong candidate in New Hampshire for the primary. He just isn't. They messed with the calendar, and it may backfire. So if the mission is to divide Democrats and help Donald Trump, then that's what he's doing, Demers said. Phillips, meanwhile, drew his own primary challenger this week when Ron Harris, a DNC executive, announced a bid for Phillips' congressional seat. But, guys, there is a serious possibility Biden not being on the ticket could open the door for somebody like Dean Phillips to get like 30% or something crazy, or just who knows. But this should be a warning sign that there are some Democrats, they're starting to realize, hey, this guy, they may try to get him over the hump, but I don't think they can. We should probably look at getting a second option because this isn't pretty. But if Dean Phillips makes a last-second announcement like he's potentially doing, kind of like Bloomberg did, I don't think it's going to be, a success. I don't think he's going to win the nomination, but what if he does something crazy and, like, wins New Hampshire or something? I don't think the delegates will count because the DNC is going to sanction them, but it's a very fascinating question that we should answer about what's going to happen in the state of New Hampshire with Dean Phillips, with Williamson, with Biden not even being on the ticket. And there's potentially going to be some RFK supporters that still write in, say RFK. So, anyways, folks, again, this is a very, very fascinating story, but it's still developing. We don't know how this is going to go. I'm not saying Phillips wins in New Hampshire. I'm just saying that there's a possibility, at least. There is some kind of possibility that he does something wacky and he wins the primary by technicality. That could be absolutely hilarious, but just got to see what happens. If you did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.